So I think we're recording, and very, very warm welcome to everyone who's here, and then to those of you who are catching up on YouTube or seeing it for the first time on YouTube, then a very warm welcome, of course, to you as well. So this is the fourth of our 7 sessions on Chenrezik practice instructions. And we'll start briefly with our good motivation and our prayers. And so some of these prayers we'll be repeating in our actual training today. We must do quite a bit of actual practicing together today. But just now, because it's the right way to start, let's turn our hearts in the most beautiful, profound, loving care we can possibly muster, turning that loving care to all beings without any exception, and as best we can, equally, as much as we've ever loved anybody, we try and love everybody. And in particular, those, as you know, who are karmically very close to us in this life. Karmically, we've been close to everybody in past lives. But just now, the karma that's on screen is for our parents, our siblings, our children, and then those who figured very powerfully in this life, for the better, for the worse. And so we need particularly to include those. And as you know, but I find it so startling, let's say, the real people in your life, the ones I just listed, they are precious beyond belief because they are your living samples of all sentient beings. The ones you've not met, the humans or the animals, if you've been close with animals, they're just ideas. We can love all sentient beings. We can see other sentient beings on TV. We get some impression, maybe, through media. But the ones you've met and breathed and interacted with and had some experience of what other beings are like, not you, so different. They're precious beyond belief. And the reason the Bodhisattva path is long, even though you may get very deep insight soon in your meditation journey, we have so much to learn about other beings. And in learning about other beings, it's the only way we'll learn about compassion. So other beings are very precious. We should value them and then be so happy because we have Dharma to free our minds to be able to help them. Thank you. Sonje chodon soji chonamla jancho bado dane chapsunche tagi jenso jipe sonomji drola penchera sonje druparashu semchen tamche dewa dang dewe judang dempara joche dongal dang dokngal ji judang tralwara joche dongal me pe dewa tampa dang men tralwara joche Nirin chadan ne tang tralwe tang yom chempola ne pare jure che Leata shame shamawati shameta shatru Om kuri marajite karota ke orete jovate wollo yane Bishuda nimala nimale malapa naye kukure kaka grase grasana om mukim amukesham Paramukya mukesham dawane sava graha bandhanane Nigrihita savabhava pravadina vimukta marapasha savita buddha mudra Anugatita savamare putsarita pare shuddhi biga shantu savamara kamane. Palen savelama rinpoche dagye chewara pende tenshula kadren chempo gone jezonte kuson tuje ngajop saldo sol. Thank you. So I think in the last 3 sessions, my video dropped at one point. So if it does, all being well, I'll be back within a minute or two. And then if you can't hear me, because sometimes when it puts me back online, it automatically turns off the microphone, just wave your hand so that I know something's wrong. So I hope you did your homeworks well. For today, you'll definitely need the practice text. So if you've got a Chenrezik practice text from somewhere, or if not, the support document that I sent out, you'll need that because we'll be chanting and visualizing together. We're a bit behind with the schedule that was announced on the website, where you've got a description session by session, but never mind, we'll get there by the end. So let's start by practicing together the parts of the practice that we've done so far. So this will be a guided meditation. I'll talk you through it, and I'll put, if I can find it, the text on screen for those of you who've not got it to hand. Let me just see. I think it's this one. Okay, can you wave if you can see it, the text? It's okay? Good, thank you. So we start with refuge and bodhicitta. Now this morning, we'll do these in the way we do it when we're training. Just to refresh your mind, when we are training, we train section by section until we got it. There's no point rushing. You'll be doing this for the rest of your life. So we do refuge until we have some feeling of taking refuge in Chenrezik and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We need to learn to visualize that, to say the words, to stop, to contemplate, to feel it, to try and think, what does this really mean? Say the words again, chant, reflect, until the first 2 lines, the refuge, are okay. Then we go on to do the same with the bodhicitta, when we have some feeling of making the bodhisattva promise in front of the living presence of Chenrezik, in front of the manifestation of all the Buddhas throughout time and space, showing you their loving heart in the form of Chenrezik. So Chenrezik's right there in your room in front of you, and you are making the most solemn promise. Now, when we come to do this in a few minutes, I know many of you maybe haven't taken formally the bodhisattva vow. But whether we've taken it or not, when we're training in the practice, we're looking forward. You will, most definitely, maybe in this life, maybe in another life. But it's inevitable that in one most beautiful life, you will make the heartfelt promise to get enlightened, to be able to help everybody. Truly enlightened. The word we use, the words in the Tibetan, have so many superlatives sometimes in France. Totally pure, utterly perfect enlightenment. Not a mini enlightenment, the real deal, 100%. Nothing left but Buddha mind, your whole story liberated. Even in the finest details, all of your karma gone. So we're going to make that promise. So here, whether you've actually done that in this life or not, we practice as if we've done it. So let's do that. So we sit nicely and we move into the space of mind, where anything is possible, because we have this wonderful tool called imagination. We use it all day long. We've used it all of our life. Anything that's not immediately real, coming in through our five senses, is imagination, or your memories of the past, or your thinking about the past. What we call the future, which is nothing more than a huge imagination journey in our mind. Future didn't happen yet. Yet we've got such a concrete future in our heads. Most of the day we're imagining, so now we're going to use that tool beautifully. So we imagine, we make the picture if we can with our mind. We feel with our heart as, oh gosh, this is really happening. That right there in front of you and me is Chenrezik, a manifestation in form from all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and in particular from our own Guru and lineage. It's as though every master in the Kagyu lineage, through all the Karmapas and the Situpas and the Shamapas and the Jamgon Controls, so all of them with the beautiful love and compassion in their heart and the wisdom of Shunyata and so on. It's as though they've all come together to make one image which connects us with their loving kindness. So, and that is shining in front of us, and we feel it in front of us. The love and kindness of all the Karmapas and Buddha, all the Buddhas. And the form of Chenrezik that it takes in front of us is so beautiful, you could barely lift your eyes to look at it. The way Chenrezik's eyes look on all beings with such understanding, knowing each and every one of their karmas, is so powerful and so authentic. It's so true. Such truth is hard to bear, but it's there. And the brilliant power of the five Buddha wisdoms is shining like a crown on Chenrezik's head, and so on and so on. So Chenrezik is right there in front of us. And our own awareness, plucked out of the busy details of this life, is there as you forever, you who've had so many past lives, you who have so many future lives to go. But just now, we are taken out of the busyness of life. And here we are, face to face with our own potential, our own compassion. And then we are not just here. We feel very, 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 very connected to all other sentient beings, but it's like a network, a fabric. We are very closely connected to our Father and our Mother who gave us this life, and to our brothers and sisters and children and the friends and enemies who figured in this life. The lines of connection, like a spider's web, they're very close, and then the connection goes through them and to those we know less well, and eventually, endlessly, out to all beings. But we feel connected. And we are here doing this quintessential practice for everybody. And as we visualize what is happening for us, is happening for each and every one. It is beyond concept, even though we use words. It doesn't matter if it's a dog or a cat. They don't need to understand the words. Or middle way philosophy. Chenrezik is so vivid. They feel. It's like with the 16th Karmapa, when he gave empowerments in Rumtek. It said local dogs in the Rumtek village, even though they were chained up, they'd pull their stakes out the ground and run towards the monastery. I saw him for many, many months. So many animals. They related directly. Human beings who were not Buddhist just could not ignore his presence. So Chenrezik in front of us, the power of love in this world, in this universe, in our mind, in everyone's mind, is so strong that this journey of meditation we will go through is happening for each and every being in our mind as it happens for us. So just now, as Chenrezik appears in front of us with the love and compassion of all the Buddhas, and in particular with the feel of our own guru, if we have a guru, then that's happening, whether they're Buddhist or not. Doesn't matter. Chenrezik's love is the very nature of everything. It's the very nature of ourselves. So whether you're mum and dad, or Christian, Buddhist, atheist, doesn't matter. It's their true nature. It's the true nature of things. So as Chenrezik manifests so vividly, and we feel we're in this heart-to-heart meeting, that's happening for all of those as well. And the animals, even if they're vicious, cats that kill birds or whatever, when they come to take refuge, they feel sweet and kind and pacifist. And so on and so on. So anyway, first we practice taking refuge. Our trust in Dhamma as a process, our trust in the Buddhas as our guides and examples, our trust in the Sangha. We make total. And we entrust ourselves 100% to the three jewels, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and the three roots, the gurus, the yidams, protectors, all of them embodied in Chenrezik in front of us. As we do it, everyone along with us is saying the words and placing their heartfelt trust in the refuges. Sonje chodang, solje chonam, la chan chon bandu, lani chan sonje. Sanje Chadan Sanje Chonam La Chan Chol Vadu Lani Cham Sanje. Sanje Chadan Sanje Chonam La Chan Chol Vadu Lani Cham Sanje. And then through the power of the prayer of refuge of ourselves and all of our sentient beings around us, then Chenrezik in front of us lights up more vividly, and white, red, blue, green, yellow lights stream from Chenrezik into us and absorbed into our body like sunbeams that make your bones warm and your body warm. Then we feel we are granted the blessing of refuge. Our guide, Chenrezik, will take us on the path, and we will be protected, supported, and inspired, so that love and compassion become our response to all that happens to us. Then next we do what we do when we train for days, for weeks, for months, however long it takes, for the 2 lines of bodhicitta. So now that we've taken refuge in all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the form of Chenrezik, then in this intimate closeness that we're visualizing with Chenrezik, the Guru, all of those enlightened beings are right there in front of you. We are going to make a promise for the rest of this life and for the rest of each and every life until we ourselves are like Chenrezik. And in particular, as we say the promise, we are in this case saying that through the practice of Chenrezik meditation and through the recitation of Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Mani Padme Hum Dri, the mantra, through those and those alone, we will take our mind to total, perfectly pure, utterly perfect enlightenment, so that we bring the best benefit to ourselves and to all other sentient beings. Dagi konde jipe senam rola penchera sanje marsho. Dage gonde jipe sunam ji rola penchera sanje harsho. Dage gonde jipe sunam ji rola penchera sanje harsho. Then, as with the refuge, at the end of the recitation, through the power of our recitation, Chenrezik in front of us shines even more brightly, brilliantly, and the light from Chenrezik comes into us. We feel its power, and into all of our fellow beings around us, giving the blessing of bodhicitta, the bodhisattva path, giving us the skills and the courage to be able to keep to that sacred commitment in the rest of this life and through all of our future lives. We feel supported, connected, blessed, and we know that Chenrezik will be our bodhicitta guide, life after life, just like Chenrezik was our guide already in past lives. That's why we're here. He brought us back here. And then at the end of the refuge and bodhicitta, then the field of refuge, as we call it, Chenrezik in front of us, or if, as explained last time, you've been visualizing Chenrezik surrounded by an endless ocean of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the sky in a tropical sunset, their red and yellow robes so dazzling. All of that field of refuge and bodhicitta now dissolves into rays of light, which in turn dissolve into us and the sentient beings around us, and we sit quietly in that blessing for a moment. Thank you. So now we move on to the next step. That was the first main part of the practice. As I explained before, the practice follows the template of our own Dharma evolution. So in that part, Chenrezik and the field of refuge were separate and in front of us. And we very, very much feeling like me, the worldly person I am, me, the outcome of karma that I am. I need to take refuge, and I need to give myself the firmness and the strength of bodhicitta in order to evolve. Very realistic, the first part, in terms of who we are just now. Then the next part becomes more intimate. We connect a bit more intimately with our own nature. So now we need to feel our body, visualize as well, but let's start with a simple exercise, nothing to do with Chenrezik in itself. Okay. I want you to think of a house you know very, very, very well. Could be from your childhood, could be now. Okay? So think of that house, seen from the front, what it looks like when you see the front windows, the front door, the front of the house, the garden that maybe that's in front of it. Okay? Now the same house you know so well, now from the back. What does it look like from the back garden or from the back? The windows, doors, the ivy climbing up the wall, whatever it is. So familiar. All right. Oops. No, you can't see me. I've got to take this text off screen for a while. Okay. So I think there was no problem with that. You just used your imagination, your visualization power. You didn't have to run very quickly from the front of the house to the back of the house to see it. You didn't need to do anything with your eyes. Where did it happen? Happened in your mind. You did it very easily. So now we're going to do the same thing above our head. Seeing a house in your imagination from back and from front, no different from Chenrezik. You don't have to run out in front of yourself to look above Ken's head to see what's there. It's in our imagination. It's in our mind. These eyes and these legs mean we have to move around and squint and put on different glasses to see things this way or that way. The mind's amazing. You can see things in 3D from many angles at the same time. One part of practice is simply enabling us to work with this very habitual mind to realize its potential. Very down to earth work with who we are, the way our mind functions. So it's a very good way. It's more than that, but anyway. So now we have our awareness, our imagination, our feeling above our head. So we sit well, if you can, and we feel our body. Some of you do mindfulness, body scans, sweeps, where we feel our body, the head, the arms, your torso, your legs. And we just be one with that awareness. And like if you wiggle your fingers, you can feel your hands. If you shake your head, you can feel your head. You wiggle your toes, you feel your toes. You be one with that inner sensation. And now that same awareness, which is kind of inside your body and with your body, we are going to let it rise. Our awareness rises to the space above the top of our head. And it's like you feel something there. You know the way you feel sometimes, even though you never heard them or saw them come up, you suddenly feel there's somebody behind me. A presence. We are feeling a presence above our head, as though it's always been there. And in truth, it always has. And that presence above our head is the purity of our mind. Even though this life is so impure, our own mind can be so scattered, so ugly at times. It's life. It's a worldly mind. But it can give birth to something so pure. Nothing but purity. So it's like a lotus, which grows out of a filthy, muddy pool. But every petal, every leaf is immaculate, so beautiful. So our Dharma practice, the awakening of our love and compassion, is going to be something so pure. So above our head, we feel the presence of a lotus of light. As best you can, in the text it says an 8-petaled lotus. It's white with a tinge of pink. Like all lotuses, it has this very flat center and the petals around the edge. The feeling is nothing but goodness, our own goodness and purity. You can close your eyes if it helps to visualize, to imagine, to feel the presence. Eventually, we'll need to have the eyes open. And allow yourself wonder that something could be so pure, that all your life you've had this purity waiting above you, for you to open your heart to it. And then on the flat center of the lotus appears a vivid, flat disk of light. We call it a moon disk. So we visualize that hovering just above the flat center of the lotus. Vividly brilliant, because it is the light of wisdom. This is called a wisdom disk, or moon disk. And it's the wisdom of shunyata, which is why it's a moon disk. It's the understanding of the real nature of everything that manifests through interdependence, karma. doesn't need words. It is the pure knowing. So the purity of our mind, the lotus, becomes the basis for recognizing the true nature of everything. A moon disk looks like a moon disk, feels like so wise. Looks like a lotus, feels like so pure. And this is the beginning, the basis of our journey into our own truth. And now next, immediately, standing on the moon disk, upright, is the syllable Hri. The white syllable Hri that you've been learning to draw and learning to visualize. It looks like Hri. It stands upright, facing forwards in our imagination. We trace each of the letters, stroke by stroke. And as we focus on it meditatively, we go through that again and again, this stroke, the next stroke, the kigu syllable on the top, and it shines very, very white through the power of our undistracted concentration. It looks like Hri. Why Hri? Hri is short for Hridaya. Hridaya in Sanskrit means the very, very essence, the quintessential nature, the essence of the essence. It's a beautiful term in Arabic, which is lup or lup, which means the heart of the heart or the kernel of the kernel. Hridaya means what is at the very heart of everything. And this is Dhammakaya. Of course, it is the changeless nature of Buddha mind, from which all Dhamma emerges. But the Dhamma is secondary. Primary is the true nature of everything, Hri. As we hold our awareness undistractedly, which means as soon as there's the tiniest distraction, we stop it immediately. Bring your awareness back to Hri again and again, and more carefully as we train over the weeks, over the months. The power of our one-pointed meditation makes Hri shine more and more brightly until it is radiating lights everywhere. White light, straight beams of white light going endlessly in all the directions of space. Curly beams of light, white light. Rainbow beams of light, some of them straight, some of them curling beautifully. And then individual colors, blue rays, red rays, and so on. All through the power of our undistracted Hri. And as we focus on it, we can be saying, Re, 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 Re. And once we can do that, our next step of training is that Re, above our heads on the moon disk and lotus, is going to perform two major functions. So let's stop the guided talk just now, and I'll explain a little bit. Then we can come back to it. Leave it there, just as it is, absolutely perfect. We're coming back to it. So, Chenrezik is a very simple practice, but it is not the less because of that. So what you will find in every Vajrayana practice are two main steps when we come to visualizing. One is called the generation phase, and the other is the completion phase. So just now we're in a generation phase, which, as the name suggests, is generated by our imagination and our mind. But, and this is very, very important, practically, philosophically, something we need to understand. Within the generation phase, we have two subphases in all the different practices. One is called samayasattva, and the other is called jnanasattva. Sattva means mind, state of mind. Samaya means our connection, how we connect. And this phase involves us constructing, using our visualization power, like we just did. But the important point is this. This is not just an exercise in training your mind as it is up to now. You know, it's not like taking a block of wood and putting it on a lathe and then shaping it into a new thing. We are not just going to create a Ken created lotus, moon disk, Hri, and then afterwards things will happen. In the end, Chenrezik will appear above us. All of this is not a Ken-controlled mind training operation. That is not what Vajrayana is about. Vajrayana is about connecting with the truth, changeless nature, timeless truth of everything, everyone, and ourselves. So once we've made the creation, we need to let go the control and open up so that the real thing can come in. So Chenrezik isn't just your mind's creation. Chenrezik is the love of the Buddhas, the kindness, the wisdom. It's always been there. It really is. It really is. Always has been. For you, for billions and billions of other beings, it's the nature of everything. Not just our creation of a replica of that nature. So we create a resonant form above our head that will perform certain functions. And this will enable the real presence of Chenrezik to come into us. And then we'll take that even deeper. This is the next steps of the practice. But this difference between everything being your mind, some people misunderstand Buddhist philosophy so much. When they say it's all mind or it's all your mind, it's like we created everything. That's not the Buddha's teaching. We don't have time to go there. We need a few months if we do. This is philosophy. But we need to let go our own rigid projection construction to enable the reality which is beyond any self, any Ken, that's always been there, to come in. So the samayasattva is the construction. Samaya, making the bond, the connection, the link. But then through that, we learn to allow in the jnanasattva. Sattva means mind still, and jhana means primordial wisdom, timeless wisdom. I hope that's clear. So that's in all Vajrayana practices, and here, of course, even though it's so simply done. And there are no words about this in your text. Now, in order to, so let's make an example. Just now, this Zoom meeting, you've configured your end. You've gone online, you've logged in to something, or let's take an even better example. When you telephone somebody, you dial their number. You need a phone. It's only bits of plastic and metal, but you need a phone. It's not the other person. Now, if you phone me, it's not Ken. It's a ugly bit of plastic in your hand with a glass screen. And then you can't just look at that plastic and Ken appears. You have to dial my number or my WhatsApp or whatever one you do. So you set up your end and it resonates. It sends out vibrations and they're picked up by the phone mast and then the satellites or whatever it is. And then because you attuned yourself that way, or being well, you'll end up on my phone and we can talk to each other. It won't happen unless you set up your end vibrating and configured. So all of our visualizations, medicine, Buddha, Tara, and so on, we need to set up something this end that resonates with the reality that's there beyond us in the cosmos. It's the nature of things. Now, in making that work, it's like going to a hilltop where you get a good signal. We need to do certain things. So you'll find all practices, and some of them, in a very elaborate way, have what we are going to do next, which is two things. One is to enter into a correct relationship with what we call the deity, in this case, Chenrezik. One of humility and respect and wonder. And the other is to strengthen and set fire to, like bringing fire and power into it, our loving care for all sentient beings. So in other practices like Tara, for instance, those of you who do Tara practices, you know that there will be many stages of offerings, lots of offerings. And if you learn the practice, you learn to do all the mudras and the fancy hand movements with each of the offerings, the meaning of the offerings. Then you get praise, where you make praises. All of these are to help us become humble, to help us transcend our desire, our anger, our jealousy. Each offering has meanings. Each stage of the practice, 7-branch prayer. And praise so that we put ourselves in our correct place and realize just how amazing Chenrezik in our mind is. So all practices have those, sometimes described at length, sometimes with an awful lot of procedure involved. We make outer offerings, we make trauma offering, all sorts of things. In the Chenrezik practice, the mind procedure is the same. Very, very, very kind Tangtong Gyalpo. He saves us all of the chanting and the mudras and all the rest of it. Just our mind. So the text doesn't say anything, but the practice instructions tell us exactly what to do. So from the tree above our head. So now let's go back there. Okay, I had to explain samayasattva, jnanasattva, why we're doing what we're doing. So now let's do it. Let's return. to sitting well. Go back to above your head, still there, the white lotus of purity, the moon disk of true wisdom beyond words. And now the Hridaya, shining so brightly because your mind is undistractedly held in its shape very clearly. And now through that, the Hri radiates these colored lights, white, and then all the individual colors and rainbows, straight beams, curved beams. And the first thing that these beams of light do is go to each of the Buddhas, Buddha Shakyamuni, Medicine Buddha, Buddha Amitabha, any Buddha you can think of. And the great bodhisattvas, Chenrezik, Manjusri, Vajrayana, Kshitigarbha, and so on. And they make offerings. And the most beautiful offerings, the most wonderful flowers you can think of, gorgeous landscapes, the deepest smells, the smell of incense, of gugul, of each flower, of hot pine wood in the summer, whatever is wonderful smell. We are offering them and at the same time, of course, letting go of our clinging to them. And then food, the tastiest, most delicious food, straight out of the oven or plucked from the tree. And then lights, the candles, moonlight, starlight, the light inside gemstones. And all the beautiful forms that can appear to the eyes. And music which is so powerful, the most beautiful sounds of instruments, choirs, the music of the rustling streams, the music of life. All of the offerings are carried on the tips of these beams of light to all the Pure Lands, to each and every one of the Buddhas, saying whatever is wonderful that we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. I would give this so happily without a second thought, to have the blessing of Chenrezik's love and compassion in my mind. And if you're good at visualization, you can imagine dakas and dakines and offering gods and offering goddesses on the tips of the beams of light. And they can offer so beautifully, much better than we can. And joyfully and respectfully at the feet of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And at the same time, they sing so nicely, and they sing the true praises of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who've achieved so much, who help beings so wonderfully. So this light coming from the Hri through our one-pointed meditation is going to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and asking them for the true presence of the compassion that they've experienced, that they know that they are. A feeling of openness inside ourselves, ready to accept and receive that. Let's meditate on that for a little while. Thank you. You'll need weeks and months to make a better and better job of this. So whether we do it now for 1 minute or 10 minutes doesn't make much difference. Now, the other thing that the light from the tree above your head, the lights, remember white light, beautifully colored lights, those beams, is they go to beings in all 6 realms. From the lowest, the most painful, the utter paranoia and psychosis of the mind, to the absolute time-wasting beauty of the gods. Whatever's going on in samsara, wherever people are lost in delusion and hurting one way or another, then light from the tree goes like medicine. And it helps them deal with their present circumstances, but to deal with it in a way which takes their minds, their hearts, to Dharma, because then they can help themselves, free themselves. So whatever you know about the 6 realms and their sufferings, then this light from 3 above our heads and above the heads of each and every sentient being around us is going throughout the universe to help other beings. So you know what your homework will be over the coming week. It is now the 3 and the lights, and then the lights making offering and praise and requesting the Buddhas to give their own true compassion. And the light radiating in the 6 realms to help the sentient beings. Now, at the end of that, let's say in our actual session, we spend 5 minutes doing that. In our training, we spend days, weeks, months learning how to do this, as long as it takes, so you can do a good job and then improve it as the years go by. Don't rush it. There's no point. It's not helpful. Train well. But then in the actual session, where we really feel the power of offering, which is the power of letting go, the power of praise, which is humility, as we actually feel that through the lights and the loving care really helping each being, it's like the light actually goes in there and changes things for others. Once we feel that, then those 2 activities, which are vital in any Vajrayana practice, they come back in all the other practices, not just at this early stage of visualization, and sometimes at a later stage. Those 2 things that Taisitupa sums up beautifully. Respect up, compassion down. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they're so much more advanced than we are. They have so much to give us. So respect, devotion, praise, offering, up, respect up. And then sentient beings, that most of them, they're not so well off as we are. I don't mean materially. The Dharma poor. We are Dharma rich. So compassion down. Those two functions are very important. When we've finished our time with those, then the lights come back to us from all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They come back to the tree. And it's like, I don't know if you ever saw like phosphorus burn, like blazes. The tree above us, when the light comes back from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it just blazes. Couldn't bear to look at it. It's so brilliantly white. And then when the gratitude from sentient beings comes back to it, the same thing. So as the lights come back from respect up and compassion down, then the tree bursts into the form of Chenrezik. This is what will really happen when our own respect, devotion, humility, as these flourish, as our own loving care and tenderness for sentient beings develops, then the real Chenrezik will become apparent to our mind from the tree. The essence of everything, the real Chenrezik will manifest. So here we're imagining what will really happen in the future. So then Chenrezik is now seated on the moon disk and the lotus above our head, and all of this we are feeling above us. If you can image well, we are imaging it in detail. So then, how is Chenrezik? Well, Chenrezik looks not unlike us, not quite like us, but there's one head and one body and two legs, but there are 4 arms. So you've got another bit of homework, which is, and I think the easiest way to imagine Chenrezik with 4 arms is to try imagining yourself with 4 arms. So this should work very well. Now let me put back on screen, if I can find it. This one. Oh no, that didn't work. Stop that. Okay. Can you see Chenrezik? Yes? Good. Wave a hand. Yeah, good. Okay, we'll use this image for today. Now, so this is Chenrezik above your head, right? So how is Chenrezik? A bit like us, but you can see Chenrezik's got 4 arms. So we need to get our heads or our imagination around this. And so the lower 2 arms hold a blue cabochon gem, which is a wish-fulfilling gem. So then we need to practice that. I'll show you that in a minute. And then you can see the upper, we can't tell from this image because Chenrezik's got a shawl over the shoulders, but 2 of the arms are a bit lower, joined to the shoulders. For those of you who know human anatomy, you can work this out if you can, how that might work. But the lower 2 hold the wish-fulfilling gem. The upper 2, the right one holds the crystal rosary, and the left one holds a lotus flower. So, how do we get our imagination, which isn't just making an image, it's feeling it, relating to it? Well, find something. I've got a lemon here, right? So this is your wish-fulfilling gem, right? So you can probably do better than this. In my house in Samiling, I've got a very, very nice orb. Goodness knows, it meant probably to have been a royal orb that a king held in the hand. It's just the right size. But anyway, we hold this to the heart. You find yourself an object and you feel what it's like to hold something to your heart. And now what you've got is a wish-fulfilling gem. Now, wish-fulfilling gem. In the legends, I've not seen one on eBay yet, amongst the crystals and other things, but a wish-fulfilling gem does what it says. When you get close to it, the mere proximity makes your wishes come true. That's in the legends. And there are places in the world where often natural rocks, natural crystals are said to have this thing. It's like we have wishing wells and things like this. But now the real wish-fulfilling gem that Chenrezik has, although we visualize it as one of these jewels which exists in the Naga and the Deva realms, the real wish-fulfilling gem is Mahamudra meditation. It's Dzogchen meditation. So those who have this stability of Mahamudra, like Kamapa, like Taisitupa, any connection with them, any closeness to them, makes our wishes come true. It doesn't mean you'll win the lottery. It means your Dharma wishes to elevate, purify your mind, and to be able to really help others. Although Dharma does that, Dharma can take very, very, very long. But when we make a connection with a realized being in our lineage, like Tangtong Gyalpo, who gave us this practice, or Karmapa, or Taisitupa, then that closeness in our own mind will be the most liberating thing. And then others who come close to us, in other words, who make a connection. I don't mean somebody you're pressed up against on the tube train. I mean somebody who comes close to you in life. Somebody who makes a connection with you will connect through you to the lineage. And as we become bodhisattvas, this power of connection and prayer and so on is the most wonderful thing. So now you are holding to your heart this wish-fulfilling gem of Mahamudra. Your mind is in the deepest meditation of compassion, and anyone who connects with you is helped. So once you practice that, then you put down your wish-fulfilling gem, and you pick up your lotus. You find a flower, can be a real one or a plastic one, and you pick up your crystal mala, and you feel what it's like to sit there. Now the crystal mala, as you turn the beads, you are bringing one sentient being after another to enlightenment. It's another one, and another one. Might take a few eons or a few lifetimes, but that's another one, and that's another one. Safe, saved. And then all the time that your compassionate heart and mind is involved with sentient beings' lives and helping them out of their confusion and ignorance, then like the lotus, you're in the world but not of the world. You're not corrupted by whatever is going on there. You remain pure. So you get used to sitting there like Chenrezik. Your whole existence is helping one after another, and you're remaining pure. So you get the feeling of this, the feel of the mala turning, the feel of holding such a beautiful lotus. And then you put them down, and you pick up your wish-fulfilling gem again. And then you put that down, and you pick up your flower and your rosary again. And then you do it more quickly. And after a couple of sessions, you start to get what it's like to have 4 arms. Oh, I've got 4. All of a sudden, you get these little flashes of what it's like to. So then, when we visualize Chenrezik above our head, it becomes easier. There's a feel to it. There's a sense to it. You remember last week, 3 qualities to our practice that we are learning to develop: clarity, purity, certainty. Clarity is to really feel and imagine these things happening above you. Purity is to know the meaning, like I've just been explaining. And certainty is to be 100% with the reality of that. It's truly happening. And it really is the compassion of all the Buddhas. So I think I probably need to stop the explanation there. The homework is now the 3, the lights emanating, the offerings, the praise, and the blessing coming back from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then the lights radiating to help the 6 beings. And then through the power of that, the lights returning to the 3, which becomes, in one instant, Chenrezik. So also the homework is to become more and more familiar with the image of Chenrezik that you have in your support document. Okay, now the way we do this, just to conclude, we don't have a lot of text. We don't have a very verbal text telling us all the things that I just said. It's very brief. Doesn't tell you what the lights do when they emanate. So either we read the next section of text, and then we do the visualization when we're training, or we do the visualization for as long as it takes, and at the end, then we read the text. But as the weeks go by and we're more and more familiar, then we'll be doing the visualization line by line with the text. So it becomes really meaningful. So let me just give you the transmission for the text. Okay, so it's this one. Daso kachap semchenji chitsuk pekara daweteng. Frile pakcho Chenrezik. Kasa wuzer madentro. Zezum tukje Chenrezik. Chak shi dampod taljarze. Woni shelteng pekaranam. Dadang rinchen genji tre. Rida pak pe toyoso. Opame pe wojenjen. Shapni doje chudrungshu. Drime dawara japtempa. Chapne kundu mowarajur. So we'll be exploring that text and this visualization further next week. So let's dedicate whatever was good in this formal part of the teaching. Then we have a little time for discussion and for questions and answers. Sonam diye tomche zikpani, topne nyepe dranam pomchene, je ganachi palap trukvayi, sipe tsole drowa, drowara sho. Jancho psemcho rinpoche, ma jepanam jechuoche, jepan nyampame padam, kongne kongdu, palwara sho. Gewa diye nyoduda, Chenrezik wang, trukjone, drowa chikjang malupa, te sala, kabara sho.